Hey, everybody. How are you? Welcome. Welcome. Welcome, Attic Watcher. Thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'm really sorry about earlier. I fired up a live stream and we had been having, hello, my darling. Um, we had been having some problems with the internet in the morning. I don't know why. And then I streamed and the internet just went out and it was really, really frustrating. So I apologize that I had to duck out. I wouldn't have done it voluntarily. I had no choice. But I appreciate everybody. Hello, Crochetter and Amber and Beth and Silva L. Pressure. It's good to see everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And thank you so much for attending Neg's stream earlier. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the new members, and I appreciate all the new subscribers that we picked up. Thank you so much. So there's been, as you all know, a lot of nonsense and drama surrounding people and their horrendous, negligent pet care. It turns out that some idiot decided that it would be hilarious to post a notification that Amberlynn's dog had gone missing and Twinkie is fine. Whoever did that is an asshole. Great. There goes my monetization. Apparently, you're not supposed to say naughty words within like the first minute of a stream. So, oh well. I can't control myself sometimes with the naughty language. Um I saw some pretty heinous nonsense today. Hi, mademoiselle. It's good to see you. Um, I noticed. I watched a little bit of Jordy, and there were idiots in his chat who were like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if we went to Wisconsin to look for rarity?" No, actually, it wouldn't be cool. Um, I know that you guys find that hilarious. I don't think it's funny at all. Um, and I heard Mr. Snowflake. This was really creepy. So um, Mr. Snowflake said that he was like looking into the claim that, like the logistics of Rarity flying the coop because Amberlynn stupidly left the back door open, and the cat got out. Hey, Joe. And Mr. Snowflake said that people had gone online and looked up Tommy's home on the internet. And so he got a good look at the backyard. And the excuse he gave was, oh, I thought it was one of those big American backyards, but it wasn't. And then he described the backyard and the layout of it and talked about, how Rarity could have escaped. It was a whole thing. And it really sent a shiver up my spine. It did. As someone who knows what it's like to have their home um, sort of splashed all over Twitter, room by room. And I've been threatened. This was years ago. This was before things got really heated. This was, when I was criticizing Chris Hansen and people were threatening me and telling me that they knew when I walked my dogs, and they came up with a pretty accurate timeline of when I take my dogs out, or when I used to take my dogs out for their morning walk, which was very early when it was still very dark outside, and people showing like Google shots of my front door and threatening me, and it's terrifying. I know that if you're living in a foreign country, or if you find it, amusing to look up like the blueprints of people's houses or look up where they live and go into like a whole thing of, oh yeah, this is their backyard, this is where the cat, it's just, listen, unless you are in a situation where you have had your home doxed, your deeds doxed, people showing up at your home, people threatening you, people threatening your pets, um, people tweeting at your job, people accusing you of things that you didn't do, people trying to get you fired, people trying to get you investigated. It's really, really hard. People trying to interfere with your business, people trying to take your income streams away, people, um, showing up with weapons in your town and then laughing about it and bragging about it. It's really hard to convey to people who haven't gone through it, just be glad you haven't, how terrifying it is. It's really, really hard. And to see the excuses that people come up with for why they're giving themselves permission to behave that way. It's really disgusting. Again, I am not in any way, shape, or form excusing uh, sloppy or negligent pet ownership. I would never do so. I am of the opinion that Amber Lynn should not own any animals at all because clearly she is she's got an issue. She's got a problem keeping track of them. She can't walk her own dog. She doesn't. She can't drive. She can't take her animals to the vet. She can't trim their nails. I don't know. I have a real problem with her pet ownership. That is not, though, an excuse to then blame her partner for a cat running away. What kills me is I'm listening to people say, "Oh, Amber Lynn, if you had stayed in Oklahoma, none of this would have happened." The last time a cat ran away, she lived in Florida. What the hell does the state that she's living in have to do with her inability to keep track of her pets? Now, I haven't owned a cat in 30 years. I am not a cat expert, and I wouldn't claim to be one. I wouldn't sit here and tell people how to take care of them, cat behavior or anything of that nature. But if there's one thing I do know about cats is that cats are very quick, and you turn your back for 1 second, and the cat is out the door. So you've got to watch them like a hawk, just like you have to watch puppies like a hawk. You can't just leave a door open and think, "Oh, the puppy won't go anywhere." Yeah, the puppy will run out the door. The puppy will DoorDash, and it's very hard to train a puppy not to be a DoorDasher. Sidhu was a DoorDasher, and so was Bug when they were babies, and so you have to be very cognizant of their DoorDashing. Cats, you can't train, and so cats, you have to watch. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They are very, very sneaky and they're very, very quiet. A cat can slip out at any given moment and you have no idea where that cat went. I hope that the cat is okay. I hope that nothing bad has happened to her. I hope that she turns up safe and sound. Um I don't believe in kicking people when they're down. I don't think that that's a fair thing to do and I sure as fuck don't believe in posting um, phony missing posters or putting people's pets on Craigslist or doing anything like that. I don't find that funny. I don't think that that's amusing. Um, and really, what is the point of stirring the pot because the cat is gone? You know, like I said, I am not excusing Amber Lynn's horrendous pet ownership and irresponsibility, but that doesn't give people an excuse to then blame Tommy for whatever happened, um, or Tommy's backyard, or the state of Wisconsin, or any of that. That is just totally disgusting and untowards, and it makes me sick. Oh, did he really? Did he really? I'm gonna have to go back and take a look at it, Brenda. Um, hey, Zach. Good to see you. Hi, Scrange. Um, I'm gonna have to take a look at that. I could only stomach so much of Jordy's content today. But it's oh, he's live now. Okay. I'm not gonna snipe him because I've got a theme or a topic planned for today, but maybe tomorrow morning I will discuss Jordy or go over what it is that he's talking about. Um, a previous cat with the ex. You know, I am just so disgusted by all of this. I really am. I am so utterly disgusted. I am disgusted by Jordy. I am disgusted by Mr. Snowflake. I am disgusted by Karina, who seems to be flying under everybody's radar. Nobody has a word to say about her. And she is one of the worst of all of them. Um, I mean, let's not forget that it was Karina who went on Amberlynn's mother's Facebook page only to discover that she and Amberlynn had unfollowed each other. I don't know why, nor do I care. Karina, why are you creeping around on people's Facebooks? What is that all about? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, I agree. So, yeah, it's gross. And let me tell you something. If Amberlynn is upset by something or if she's distracted, not that that's an excuse for anything. So don't mistake what. Hey, Michael. Good to see you, Michael. Are you the one who streamed last night? Are you that Michael? I'm curious. If you're that Michael, good on you for digging up all that amazing gold Kalari footage, which I didn't know existed. So thank you, and I appreciate that. Um, oh, it's that Michael. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was very, very, very impressive. I was very impressed. Only don't take this personally, okay? But I could only get through so much of it because that woman drives me crazy. She's completely out of her mind, not that we didn't know. And it was fascinating to watch the evolution of her upper jaw and what happened to her teeth. And I was really interested to see how she had like those jagged fangs on the upper jaw, which was really, really scary. So it wasn't like she had teeth one day and then boom, they were gone. I mean, the just seeing like those Nosferatu teeth was really disturbing. Um, oh, you tried to do an evolution of the teeth. Well, Michael, you did a great job. So I'm gonna have to see. Last night was so messed up because we had Neg streaming, we had you streaming, and we had LolCal Live where Boogie and Tina D went at it. Where Boogie ended up trying to call a kid behind a camera who said, "Leave me out of all this. I don't want to have any part of it." With Wings and his wife Kelly sitting there observing the shit show. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Utterly disgusting. But of course, it went over super well because of the drums. It was incredible. Incredible. A new low. And at least Wings and Kelly were just sitting there like with befuddled looks on their faces, and they had the decency not to interfere too much because really, what is there to say between Boogie and Tina D? It was a lot. It was a lot. All right, so I am going to fire up this video that Nate the lawyer uploaded because I really, really thought he did a great job. Now, you may wonder, and for those of you who are new here, I am going to explain where I'm coming from. Yeah, that Tina Capone, that hideous, toothless, one-legged monster, that shrieking nightmare shrew of a woman. Um, hey Jen, why am I so rough on this community, on the progressives? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I am a Democrat. I did not vote for Trump and I did not vote for Kamala Harris. Um, and in my opinion, it is these people, the progressives, who have been the cancer inside the Democratic Party that have destroyed it. Um, and they have. a tremendous, tremendous amount to answer for. Um, so until the people who think along these lines, the people who are pushing these extreme ideologies are pushed out of the party is going to die. The party will be in the wilderness for years unless these people are eliminated. They need not eliminated as in killed. I'm not talking about like Joseph Stalin tactics. I'm saying that either they form their own party, they join the Greens, or they just go away. The Democratic Party will never grow. It will never succeed as long as these people are a part of it. The ideas are too extreme. We had San Francisco um, jettison their progressive mayor who basically decriminalized crime. We had Oakland recall their mayor. We had Oakland also recall the DA. The DA in Los Angeles lost. And so I think that everybody is getting a strong signal that these ideas are too extreme. People do not want them. And it's time to go. It's time to accept defeat, lick your wounds, figure out what you did wrong, shut up, and go away. That's it. That's basically it. So, um, oh my God, Capone, that's great. All right. So let's hear what Nate the lawyer had to say. And of course, we got to take a look at the Young Turks. Let's go.
After the Democrats suffer a shellacking of the century, Ezra Klein has his come to Jesus moment and realizes that there's a real problem with crime in these blue cities. Congratulations.
Oh my God. I don't know if you guys saw Ezra Klein's video where he had this road to Damascus experience where all of a sudden he woke up and realized that, oh my God, there's crime everywhere in the cities. And maybe people don't like that. You think so, Ezra? My God, Ezra, I met you 20 years ago and you had common sense. I don't know what has happened to you, but you went on this weird journey where you decided that these progressive ideas made sense. And now all of a sudden you're waking up because you saw this massive loss, this landslide loss. And you're like, oh my God, you know what? Come to think of it, people really do want the police to arrest criminals. You think so, Ezra? Jesus Christ. I mean, it's embarrassing at this point.
No, that is it. Progressives are powerless now. Okay, they have no credibility. They are completely powerless. They refuse to recalibrate. They continued promoting policies that made the lives of working class people far worse in liberal cities, okay? And now no one's going to listen to them when it comes to the bread and butter issues. Yeah. They have no power. I mean, it's just so ridiculous to me, but that's where we're at. Yeah. So when people tuned into our election coverage and they were like, well, why isn't Anna upset? I wasn't upset because I knew it was coming.
Meanwhile, releasing the prisoners like he's Bane out of Batman, right? And so, look, guys, do we want people who smoke pot to be going to prison? Absolutely not. Do we want the draconian laws? Absolutely not. But we never said let all the prisoners go. When did we say that?
Donald Trump put up the best Republican performance for a Republican nominee for president in at least 20 years, if not the entire 21st century. We're talking about Chicago, Los Angeles, New York City, San Francisco. Across the map, Donald Trump put up historically strong numbers for Republicans.
Look at that. Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco. What does that tell you? Ezra, listen, like I said, I met you 20 years ago. I used to go out drinking with you. And you were always a pretty shrewd guy. And I thought that you were one of the smart ones. You cannot tell me that you did not see this coming. You can't tell me if I saw this coming. And not because I moved to a red state, but if I saw this coming, Ezra, you get paid to do this. And you didn't see this coming. Unbelievable.
Republican candidate for president in places that, truthfully, if you had asked me 8 years ago, I would have never thought possible.
Progressive TYT confronts one big issue that the progressive left has collapsed.
Yep, thank God. About time.
The thing that surprised me least about the election was the sharp red shift in these
Really?
big cities. Because if you just talk to anybody who lives in them, they are furious. And this idea that like, oh no, the economy is actually good or crime is actually down, this is all just Fox News, like shut with that.
Congratulations, everyone. Libs have caught on to something that we figured out 2 years ago.
Who's we, Anna? Who is we? You and Cenk? Are you kidding? The Young Turks? I mean, granted, Anna has been pretty out there in, bucking the conventional wisdom of the progressive left. Anna, the last time I checked, Kyle Kulinski, your comrade, and Cenk and people like that were insisting. Am I wrong about Cenk? I know Kyle Kulinski and his idiot wife were out there insisting that the reason the Democrats lost the election was because they were running too far to the right. And that seems to be a popular talking point in progressive circles because you people are fucking delusional. Let's continue.
Crime is a problem. And if you just tell people, voters specifically, that it's not a problem and it was way worse in the 90s, so you shouldn't be complaining, there will be backlash. There will be blood. Okay. And
who said that crime wasn't a problem now because it was worse in the 90s? I need to have a name. I need to know who said that. God, no wonder Gen Z voted Republican. No wonder they did. And God, listen, I was surprised, okay? I was just as surprised as everybody else to see the Gen Z turnout and who they voted for. I was very surprised because everybody misread Gen Z and they thought that, it's the TikTok crowd and they're going to turn out en masse to vote for, men competing against women in sports, drugging and operating on kids, autistic gay children, conversion therapy, decriminalizing crime, defunding the police. Apparently, Gen Z disagreed. I find that fascinating. I said this yesterday, I believe, that is the most interesting outcome of the election. And I cannot wait to read a really good analysis of how that happened and why.
And so here we are. Ezra Klein was on Pod Save America to reflect on the disastrous election cycle that we just experienced for the Democratic Party. And he touched on how poorly blue cities have been run by progressive leaders. Got to keep it real. And so here's more of his argument. Here's more of his revelations, and then we'll break it down further.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you guys know, but I am a refugee from the city of New York because things were getting so bad in New York. Crime was up, the migrant crisis up there. Remember they're sending the migrants up to New York?
A New York welcome after a Texas rejection. On Wednesday morning, 3 more buses filled with migrants arriving in New York City.
And let's not talk about how bad crime had got, because remember, even in New York City, they had to send a National Guard into the subway because people were so scared.
Expect to start seeing hundreds of National Guard members throughout the subway system conducting random bag checks.
Yeah, right. They sent the National Guard into the subway, but they didn't send the National Guard to the streets of New York to protect New York's Jews, New York's Jewish businesses, or keep people from blocking the streets. But yeah, let's send the National Guard to the subway. That was the governor's brilliant idea. That worked out super well. I don't know if all the Ivy League campuses are sanctuary campuses. I know Brown is, and I think this is just me being petty. I think it would have been hilarious to bus a bunch of Venezuelan gang member migrants, dump them at the Van Wickle gates in Providence, and let them go in and move into the dormitories and let those spoiled, head in the clouds college kids deal with the aftermath. That would have been great. That would have been a teaching moment. What do you guys think? That would be my solution. Dump them at Harvard, dump them at MIT, dump them at Penn, dump them at Dartmouth, dump them at all of these campuses where, refugees or migrants welcome signs are unfurled, because these kids don't have to deal with the repercussions of it. They don't. It's very easy to sit your ass on a campus when your parents are paying 90 grand a year for you to occupy the green and harass the local Jews. It's another thing when you have to walk the walk after talking the talk.
High taxes, high crime, and the migrant crisis, it was a disaster. So that's the reason why we left New York. But not everyone is able to just relocate like that. And that is the problem that's going on in those Democrat-run cities. Now let's see what ultra-progressive, ultra-left-wing Pod Save America thinks about what's going on.
The sense of disorder rising, right? Not just crime, but homeless encampments, trash on the streets, people jumping turnstiles in ways, crazy people on the streets. You just talk to people and they're mad about it. They feel it's different than it used to be. I mean, in San Francisco, like the fury is overwhelming. And you see that it's not just the presidential level. London Breed, the SF mayor, just lost re-election.
Yep.
In Oakland, they recalled the mayor.
That's
bunch of the progressive DAs across the country were recalled or beaten in re-election campaigns. If Eric Adams has a lot of problems, but if he were obviously on the ballot, he would almost certainly, it seems to me, lose. You have
1,000,000%. 1,000,000% Eric Adams would lose. And it's really funny watching all these politicians backtrack when they realize that the writing is on the wall. I mean, I had been seeing interviews, little old ladies in San Fran and in Oakland, little old ladies living on a fixed income who get on the bus with their little old lady shopping carts, the little, grocery trolleys, complaining about how all the stores were closing because theft was so rampant that the grocery stores were closing, and now they had nowhere to go buy their groceries. And nobody listened to them. Nobody. And they were not only annoyed that there was nowhere to go shopping and there was nowhere to pick up their medication because the CVS's had a problem and the Walgreens had a problem and the Targets were closing and all of that. But also they don't want to get robbed getting on and off the bus or pushing their little old lady shopping trolley up to their front door and having some goon come up behind them and snatch their purse. Yeah. Listen, if I was seeing those interviews, how is it that the politicians weren't seeing them?
have to be able to govern well. People don't follow politics, but they live in the place they live.
Yeah, I follow politics and I also live in the place I live. And I've been furious for several years now. And everyone immediately, Anna's just a secret right winger. Anna's just a secret right winger. No. I'm not a secret right winger. I see the dysfunction and I see working class Americans getting their catalytic converters stolen, getting their homes broken into, getting assaulted on the subway or the train.
Now, I want to be clear. Anna was pushing some of these crazy left-wing policies too, right? But
she sure as hell was. Anna, if you are complaining that your audience is calling you a turncoat, you and Jen cultivated that audience for years. And those other idiots that work for you have been pushing these crazy ideas that are hugely unpopular. Wasn't it Jank who formed that rip-off political action committee Wolfpack? Weren't you the ones who were pushing for the election of more progressives in Congress? Weren't you guys advocating for the election of people like Ilhan Omar and Ayanna Pressley and Rashida Tlaib? I seem to recall that. And wasn't Wolfpack a massive grift? Because Jank and Kyle Kulinski, weren't they the ones who launched it? Of course, it all fell apart. But you guys were telling us that those were the politicians who best represented us. And thank you, Donna. I'm glad somebody else remembers. You guys were shoving these insane women down our throats and telling us that their ideas were groundbreaking, AOC, useless. And you guys were singing their praises until you didn't. So I'm sorry, lady. I know what it is that you all have been up to. So if your audience is turning on you, it's hardly a surprise.
She became a victim of those policies. Matter of fact, here is her explaining it.
Living in LA, I mean, there's homeless people everywhere, right? So I've never had problems. I didn't think anything of it. But as I was bending down to pick up my dog's mess, one of the guys like grabs me by my hips, and he had an erection.
Oh God.
And just starts like humping me. And I didn't know what to do. I opened up about this on the show, not really thinking much of it. And before I know it, I'm starting to get these messages, and it's like really, really harsh stuff. And it's about how you are painting a picture of the homeless community. You know, how could you be like this? You know, these are your unhoused neighbors and they need help. A few people accused me of being racist when I had never disclosed the race of the individuals who did this to me. And in fact, they were white.
They eat their own.
Who built that community, Anna? Hey, Dove Kitty. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that you're back. I'm glad to see you. You built that audience, Anna. You and Jank built that audience. And you've made a lot of money off of that audience by pulling the wool over the eyes of that audience, by lying to that audience, by spinning tales and fantasies for that audience. Of course they feel betrayed. Of course they do. If you had told the truth, you would have lost quite a bit of that audience. Now, granted, Anna, I will give her credit because Anna was brave enough to go out there and say, listen, this is what's going on. And yeah, she got brutalized for it because of the audience that they cultivated. They don't like hearing reality. They don't. You, Jank, Sam Cedar, David Pakman, even Ezra, you built those audiences and you gaslighted them and you lied to them. And now those audiences are angry because they think that you've betrayed them because they have no critical thinking skills, Anna. That's why.
Mama.
Some of the people,
They eat their own on extreme left.
and I'm supposed to just shut my mouth about it and tell everybody everything's fine because it's not the 90s? No, I'm not going to wait until after the election to talk about how it's a problem. I'm going to talk about it well before the election. So, you know, maybe Democrats, maybe progressives can recalibrate. But that's the thing about the left. They don't believe in recalibrating, okay?
Nope.
They think they know it all. They think they're the best. They think that anyone who crosses them or tweaks them or critiques them is the bad guy.
Which is exactly the message that your program pushed for years, Anna. That is the message that people like you pushed. And you're still dead wrong on a number of other issues, very uninformed and very certain of your position, even though you don't know what you're talking about. But go off, sis.
And congratulations, in the state of California, Donald Trump flipped 10 blue counties into red counties. Let's take a look at the map. This is the electoral map. First one on the left-hand side, of course, is from 2020. And then, oh, would you look at that? One of the most liberal parts of the country has become increasingly red. I wonder why that happened.
When you zoom in on this map, it's incredible to see, but California has definitely gotten more red.
Yep.
She's not lying about that.
Okay, in New York, last time Biden won by Trump lost by 24. This time he only lost by 12. Remember, he was talking about how he's going to win New York, and of course he wasn't going to win New York, and that was
No, of
outrageous.
course not.
But what he was getting at is, I'm going to do a lot better than you expect.
That's right.
And he did. Except there was one show that expected it, and it was us.
Oh,
Jank, what are you
stop it.
talking about? You
What?
predicted Kamala was going to win.
Okay, so my official prediction that I'm
Unbelievable,
forced
this
into
guy.
by my own network is 286 to 252 Kamala Harris with tons of fingers crossed.
Jank,
And the number
come
one
on.
reason why I'm crossing those fingers is because 4 years with Donald Trump will be utter chaos, anarchy, pilfering, oligarchy, amplified on steroids, putting his donors completely in charge of the government. Elon Musk will be in charge of domestic policy. Miriam Madelson will be in charge of foreign policy. This is not how it's supposed to work.
RFK Jr. will be in charge of medical and health policy. And
I mean,
Well, that
this
happened.
is madness, guys. He went from drain the swamp to I'm just going to hand the government to my donors.
Yeah.
That is a hell of a turnaround, and one of the reasons that I'm picking Kamala Harris over him today, because I think he lost the thread. If he stayed on corruption, he stayed on populism, and wasn't a lunatic, I think he would have won this election. But we don't know yet. Maybe he still wins it.
Now
It's unbelievable to me. It is unbelievable. Cenk, do you not understand that you have been on the internet for years? Do you not get that we have been watching your progress, that we have seen what you've been doing? You know, I was going to make some cheap shot comment about how his nephew is single-handedly driving Twitch into the dumper. However, it is true that Twitch is not going to rise and fall based on the success or failure of one streamer. Okay, it would be an exaggeration to say that Hassan Piker is single-handedly going to cause Twitch to go down the toilet. However, and it's also very simplistic to say, oh, well, Twitch ad revenue is down for streamers by 80 to 90% by some estimations because advertisers are pulling out. Well, no, advertisers are pulling out for different reasons. I saw a really, really good analysis of what is going on, how YouTube tweaked an algorithm to make it so that advertisers, there would be certain words that would trigger either demonetization or limited monetization on certain videos. This is what Twitch is doing now. Twitch has done, I mean, like advertisers take a look at how many click-throughs they get on ads on Twitch, and they're realizing that it's a really crappy market for advertising their products. You know, if you're advertising a gaming-related product, sure, you know, that might do well. But all this other stuff, especially if you're advertising on streams that focus on politics, foreign policy, things of that nature, that audience is not going to be receptive to clicking on ads and buying your products. So Twitch is doing now what YouTube did after Adpocalypse. However, Cenk, your nephew, Hassan Piker, is really in the firing line right now. Your nephew is being blamed for driving Twitch off of a cliff. And I can tell you that if I was a Twitch streamer and not one of the really big ones, you know, not one of the ones that are making millions of dollars and whatever, but if I was just somebody who was just like getting by and making a pretty good living on Twitch, I would be furious at Hassan right now. I would be furious at him. I would be furious at his little buddies, because right now Twitch is being branded as the streaming platform for terrorist loving and terrorist supporting and terrorist propaganda spewing streamers, traitors, in other words. That is a really bad look. Now, that is entirely the fault of Clancy, the CEO of Twitch, who for some reason refuses to take Hassan down a few pegs. And Willie Mack Show just did a great video on Hassan and what a liar and what a scumbucket he is, you know. But seriously, I mean, if I was just a regular guy sort of rubbing along on Twitch, I would be pretty mad. Like when Adpocalypse happened on YouTube and everybody blamed PewDiePie. PewDiePie could have walked away from YouTube with no problem, and the bigger streamers could walk away or survive Adpocalypse because they had brand deals, they had branched out, they had sponsorships, they had a lot of different revenue streams so that they didn't have to rely solely on ad revenue from YouTube, which is pretty crappy, may I add. But on Twitch, woo, it's going to be a whole new landscape, and it's going to be bad. And this one's nephew, the Nepo baby, is largely to blame for the horrible PR image of Twitch right now. Deservedly so.
Almost sounded like Cenk is trying to pretend that he predicted Trump was going to win. Matter of fact, he predicted the other guy was going to win and then railed against Trump. So that didn't seem like what he was just saying, that he was saying, be careful, Trump may win. He was almost saying, hey, I really want Kamala to win because Trump is so horrible.
So I want to go to a segment featuring Harry Enton because, you know, they did their post-election analysis and they noticed a trend when it came to, you know, the blue parts, like the bluest parts of the country and what they have noticed following the 2024 presidential election. So let's take a look at that.
Donald Trump put up the best Republican performance for a Republican nominee for president in at least 20 years, if not the entire 21st century. We're talking about Chicago, Los Angeles, New York City, San Francisco. Across the map, Donald Trump put up historically strong numbers for Republican candidate for president in places that, truthfully, if you had asked me 8 years ago, I would have never thought possible.
Yep. No, I mean, it is really stunning. So what exactly is driving it?
What's driving it? You know, I think immigration, one of the things you mentioned earlier on in that last segment, is part of it, but I think crime is a big part of it as well.
Yep.
If you look at Gallup polling, you ask Democrats nationwide, are you satisfied or dissatisfied with our efforts to control and bring down the crime rate? What you see is the dissatisfaction.
Look at those numbers. In 1 decade, look at the flip in the numbers. You mean to tell me that these politicians who can afford the best pollsters in the business, who have been conducting focus groups, did not know, or did not expect that this was going to happen? You want to talk about wishful thinking taking over, and you cannot have wishful thinking in politics, and you can't work on emotion. You can't run on, fingers crossed. Let's hope that everybody, sort of goes to sleep when they go into the voting booth and forgets that they were robbed, forgets that the migrants are getting all this money that is being denied to the homeless vets, and forgets all that because reasons. No, it was the economy, it was crime, it was immigration, and a lot of women voted based on the trans issue. A lot of women. So, listen, I've been telling you guys that for months, because I looked at the map of the United States and I looked at it dispassionately. And I told you guys it was going to be a landslide. It was, all the portents were there. And how the pollsters and the political consultants missed it is a mystery to me.
Faction number now versus a decade ago. Look at that. The unsatisfied number from 35% to 58%. The satisfied number dropped by 20 points.
Now, this is shocking.
It is shocking.
This number is shocking.
It is.
They've
Look at
essentially
that.
flipped on the issue of crime.
Amazing.
And if you think about it, if you're in New York, if you're in Chicago, if you're in these places, these are the high crime places. So Democrats got shellacked there. And the rest of the country is like, we don't want to become like those guys. They don't even want to acknowledge the problem, that crime is a problem. So yeah, these numbers are amazing.
That's okay. Just go to them and tell them everything's fine. Crime isn't as bad as it was in the 90s.
Yep.
That's not politics, okay? That's not trying to win. That's digging your heels in.
It's gaslighting.
And insisting that you're right, even as there's widespread concern over these issues. These are, look, the main role of government is to protect its citizens. And in these situations, in these blue cities, when the public doesn't feel that Democratic leadership is doing enough to protect working class people, okay, they're not going to favor the Democrats. And as they're being gaslit, they're just going to increasingly get angry. Yep. How do I know that? Because I've experienced it firsthand myself. Progressives are powerless now.
Good.
Okay, they have no credibility. They are completely powerless. They refuse to recalibrate. They continued promoting policies that made the lives of working class people far worse in liberal cities, okay? And now no one's gonna listen to them when it comes to the bread and butter issues.
Thank God.
They have no power. I mean, it's just so ridiculous to me, but that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So when people tuned into our election coverage and they were like, well, why isn't Anna upset? I wasn't upset because I knew it was coming.
And I did watch a little bit of TYT's election coverage, and she did look a little bit more relaxed than she did in 2016 when he won the first time. Well, she was a lot more relaxed, to be fair. So, and I think if you watch this channel and you watch a lot of the political stuff, you could have really seen this coming. I predicted Trump was going to win the election. I thought it was going to be closer, but I did think he predicted he was going to win. But everything from the migrant crisis to crime in those cities, it's really put a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And Kamala just went and said, hey, I'm still going to do what the last guy did. And obviously what the last guy, being Joe Biden, was doing wasn't working. So it was kind of like, yeah, we're not going to rehire you. You're fired.
That's right.
But there's a second part of that that's so important, Anna. You're right. It ironically ruins the progressive brand, even though it was the establishment Democrats that actually passed it into law in California. We didn't do anything about it. And it ruins it when we have incredibly popular policies, including Medicare for All, that polls at 70%. All of the economically popular policies are progressive. But now you can't say progressive because they made progressive into pro-crime and pro-extreme policies.
Look at the cities on this list.
Well, why would people associate progressive policies with pro-crime and cheating in sports and drugging and operating on kids and handing out goodies and bennies and money and housing to illegal immigrants and basically screwing over American citizens? Why would that be an association in the minds of the voters? Because it's reality. That's something that actually happened, and people were angry. And the Democratic establishment spent way too much time. I mean, listen, I know a lot of you guys don't like Nancy Pelosi, but she tried to get Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in check. When Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez beat Joe Crowley in that primary because so many people didn't bother showing up to vote, and AOC went into Congress and she started making all these noises about primarying all of these establishment Democrats. Pelosi sat her down and told her to shut her fucking mouth. Listen and learn. You just got here. You cannot say that you're going to upend the entire institution and the entire party, basically, based on your freak win that nobody would have predicted, and for a while, AOC did back off a little bit. But then, for some reason, the Ayanna Presleys, the Jamal Bowmans, the Ilhan Omars, the Rashida Tlaibs, the Cori Bushes somehow caught the ear of the exact wrong people, the people at the DNC, the people at the White House. Why they got the idea that the ideas of this squad were in any way popular. Maybe they were looking based on tweets, like retweets and engagement on social media. They lost touch with what their own base wanted. And what the base wanted was not what these progressives wanted. It wasn't. You look at the numbers on men and women's bathrooms, boys on women's teams or girls' teams, and it is overwhelmingly unpopular. Overwhelmingly unpopular. But they pushed and they pushed and they pushed and they pushed. And eventually the voters were like, you know what? You guys aren't getting the message. And the only way that we can convey the message is to vote you out of office or to vote for a guy that we don't even like. We don't even want him to be president. But we are trying to send you a message that you people are not listening. Well, message received. Now, what they do with that message, that is totally up to them.
Would you consider them to have progressive mayors, progressive prosecutors? And these are the cities that went light on crime, right? San Francisco, LA, they just voted out their progressive DA. So to pretend that these aren't progressive policies is lunacy. Cenk is just lying to you. He's making it up now. These are progressive cities. These were progressive policies. These policies failed. Now to pretend that they weren't progressive is acting like your audience is stupid.
And by the way, I mean, look, 70% of voters in California approved Proposition 36.
That's right.
Which is a reversal of an earlier ballot measure.
Proposition 36 on the November ballot would change California law when it comes to punishments for drug use and for theft. Under current law, as long as you only steal $950 or less, that's a misdemeanor. That's sort of a citation. Even if you do it a dozen times in an afternoon, that's a dozen different citations. Prop 36 would change that. For those who are offended multiple times, you could end up in state prison. Plus, it would start a new category where if you're a drug user, you will have a choice, either go to state prison or go to court-ordered rehabilitation. Now, it's supported by the California District Attorneys Association, California Retailers Association. They say crime is out of hand. We need to do something. We need to get tough. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, he's opposed. He says it will result in mass incarceration, particularly for Black and brown Californians. Prop 36, really the marquee ballot measure for the state, getting tough on crime.
That everyone was lied to about, right? Like the whole idea was, hey, we're going to stop putting people in prison for minor drug offenses or drug possession. In reality, what that proposition from 2014 did is it lessened all sorts of serious felonies into misdemeanors. Right. And now no one in the state trusts the left on these issues.
Of course not.
And so there was a ballot measure this time around regarding forcing inmates to do labor, right, against their will.
The California Constitution currently contains the following two sentences. Slavery is prohibited. Involuntary servitude is prohibited except to punish crime. As you can see, this language makes mandatory prison labor legal. Prop 6 would undo that. This sentence would change to read, slavery and involuntary servitude are prohibited. And Prop 6 would add another line of law to the Constitution. The Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation shall not discipline any incarcerated person for refusing a work assignment. That's it. That's the entire prop. For context, yes, required prison labor is a thing. The state analysts tell us about a third of the prison population has jobs, and many earn less than $1 an hour. Prisons use carrots and sticks to get inmates working. The carrots, like earning money and credit towards early release, would remain legal if Prop 6 were to pass. The sticks, like losing your phone privileges for refusing to work, those wouldn't be legal anymore. If you look in the official voter guide, you won't find any argument against Prop 6. No one bothered to submit one to the state. A yes vote on Prop 6 would ban forced prison labor. A no vote rejects the measure.
And it had no opposition, right? Like it was supposed to ban prisons from being able to do that to inmates. No one opposed that ballot measure, and that ballot measure failed.
And ain't that some shit? No opposition, and it failed. What does that tell you? In California. So I think we need to stop picking on California. That is the ruling from the chair. Everyone that thinks that California went crazy, people looked at what happened to Santa Monica, people looked at what happened to San Fran, to Oakland, to LA, to other cities. And even if you live in a distant part of the country, if somebody is living even here, let's say you're living here or even in another city, and you're looking at what has happened in Seattle, in Portland, in San Francisco, in Oakland, in LA, in New York City, people recoil at the thought of their city or their neighborhood or their community turning into that. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. And the news anchors and the primetime hosts and The View and everybody else tried to convince us that what we were seeing with our own two eyes was an illusion. It was a mirage. And nobody bought it. People didn't buy it. Like, wait a minute, you're telling me that I got robbed and I didn't get robbed and the police didn't do anything about it? So I was imagining that. Got it. I mean, I've told you guys the story about, I don't know if you're in the United States, I don't know if you live in an area where Nextdoor is a thing, but it's an app where enter your zip code, and you form part of this online community of people who live in your neighborhood, in your area, where you can chat with your neighbors or your, community members about issues that are going on in the neighborhood. And overwhelmingly, like I'm still signed on to Nextdoor under my old zip code in DC. Overwhelmingly, people are posting about mail getting stolen from their porches. Okay. And a lot of the people, I mean, basically, it's a bunch of yuppies, or middle class, upper middle class people, all of whom have Ring cameras. And they are filming as thieves walk onto their porches, steal their mail, and leave. And every single time, you see not only the clear image of the thief, but the person will say, I took this video to the police and they won't do anything about it. They won't do anything in DC about car theft. They won't do anything about people stealing mail off your porch. They give you suggestions like, well, you need to get a lockbox. You need to get this, that. Why don't you arrest people? How about that for a solution? Hey, Taliu, how you doing? And the sense of frustration and rage on the part of people on the app is overwhelming. I mean, I remember a few years ago when people started posting Ring camera footage on that app, and you would get a bunch of do-gooders who would get on there and say, oh, I think it's very unfair to post people's faces, and, this is and it was always like something having to do with race or some other bullshit. It's like, no, these are thieves. These are people who are stealing packages, checks, mail, everything. And now you don't see that anymore. This is one of the things I've noticed on Nextdoor. You see that nobody is complaining and saying it's very unfair to post video footage of thieves in the middle of committing a crime. Nobody is saying that anymore. Nobody. People are fed up. They've had enough.
California voters have rejected Proposition 6. It was called yesterday evening. This measure would have ended forced labor in the state's prison system by removing language in the state constitution.
No, that ballot measure outlawed slavery, and it failed.
It failed.
That's disgusting. That should have passed.
Oh, well.
It should have passed 99-1. I don't know who's pro-slavery other than Mark Robinson in North Carolina. And so,
listen, people, you got to really think about this. California was so tired of progressive policy that the progressive left put up slavery. We just go outlaw slavery for everybody. No opposition. And it failed. Yes, I think California is getting a little bit more red every single day.
Because it was very public and it was a big deal when everyone was dogpiling me as the big baddie for bringing up these issues. So you didn't have to come and support me 2 years ago. You didn't have to do it a year ago. But how about a month ago? Now, all of a sudden, after the Democrats suffer a shellacking of the century, Ezra Klein has his come to Jesus moment and realizes that there's a real problem with crime in these blue cities. Congratulations.
All of a sudden, the pronouns are getting removed from their their description.
That's
I think AOC did that today?
Yeah, AOC did that.
Yeah, okay, all of a sudden there's no she, her, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, zippity-doo-dah.
Starting off with AOC, she has apparently removed she, her pronouns from her X profile.
And if you guys remember, I said, why are we saying this? If there's a confusion, you say it, you be proud, I love it, I'll back you up, right? But why am I saying he, him, his for me? Just fairly obvious. Like it was virtue signaling.
Yes.
And that we called it out.
Obviously.
If you want to know who had it figured out from the beginning, so let's go to an old clip of ours from 2023. This is as it was, the busing had begun. Watch this. Look, I said this on day one. I'm going to repeat it even with greater fervor today. I think that what Texas did makes sense. And so I know that a lot of people on the left don't want to hear that. But think about it, guys. So they had this immigration problem all along. And it wasn't spread out to many different states. It was just in Texas and, of course, the other border states. And the federal government kept saying, man, I don't care. Okay. Now, to be fair to the federal government, it doesn't just quite say that. It has a lot of different programs in place. And the border states said, why? Why do we have to shoulder all of this by ourselves?
Right.
And started shipping it to other places that were more left wing and said they were more open to immigrants. So you're open to immigrants? Here you go. Here's immigrants. And now all of a sudden, New York realizes, okay, well, being open to immigrants has consequences. They're not welcoming of immigrants. I am. But that doesn't mean that we have to make New Mexico, Texas, and Arizona deal with the whole thing.
Agreed.
Right.
No, it means that we all are responsible for our brothers and sisters that are both the immigrants and the New Yorkers and the Texans, et cetera.
Number one, I got to.
And you know what? I have to say that this has been a remarkable lesson in the virtue signaling of sanctuary cities and sanctuary campuses. I don't think that the campuses have felt enough pain, quite frankly. I think the campuses should also had to have shouldered the burden. Because I am so sick of college students. I don't even have words for how fed up I am with college kids. But hey, you guys all decided to go out there and talk about sanctuary cities. And it was all great when you could put up your little signs in front of your church or in front of your home, and you didn't have to shoulder a burden. You didn't have to feel any pain, right? Then when the pain came, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. What is all this? What are we doing? Well, this is what you wanted, though. But you didn't understand the consequences of what it was that you were declaring yourselves to be. You know, I went to Portland, I think it was in 2004. I haven't been to Portland literally in 20 years. I would never return to Portland. I wouldn't set foot in that city. Beautiful air, very, very fresh, pure air. But the entire vibe of the city is so messed up. They are so detached from reality. Portland is a city where I personally would feel incredibly unsafe. I don't feel that the police would protect me. I don't think that the people who live there are inhabiting the same reality that I'm inhabiting. And it's dangerous. The crime, the drugs, the living in another universe attitude. And I have no reason to go there ever again. And I never would. I would never return to Portland. Never, under any circumstances. I'm holding out hope that San Francisco pulls itself together, because that is a city I would like to go back to. But it is going to take a long time to undo the damage that politicians like London Breed did to San Fran. And shame on her. Shame on her for pushing policies that basically destroyed such a beautiful, vibrant city.
Say they're sounding like real Trump supporting maniacs. They do. They sound like Trump supporting maniacs. Obviously, what he's saying is correct, right? You can't just have people come in, because how are you going to take care of them? That's the problem that New York had. And I think this election came down to one thing: common freaking sense. Crime is a problem. Let's just act. This is not act like it doesn't exist. You have to deal with it. That's common sense. We can't just take care of people who come in who have no resources, no money. We can't just take care of the world. That's common sense. And now people have to be confronted with the politicians they put in power because they don't have this common sense. And now you kick them out and get somebody in there that does.
I'm not for either party, and I'm going to do my job and my analysis. And I want to make it very clear to people watching the show: do not expect me to be an activist for any side, because at this point, that's a losing strategy, especially with the Democrats, who just refuse to take any advice, refuse to adjust, refuse to recalibrate. And honestly, when I look at which party has made my life worse, and it's because local politics has more of an impact on your day-to-day life, it's the Democrats.
Okay, but the Democrats did take the advice of people like Cenk and Kyle Kulinski and Sam Cedar and David Pakman, and look at how that turned out. I don't trust any of you. Anna, you have made some great strides, and I tip my hat to you, and Mazel Tov. Congratulations to you. But these other clowns, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I can't even hate watch those channels. I can't do it. Hassan, don't even get me started. And his little friends, forget it. No. You guys are all millionaires living in cloud cuckoo land who have been largely responsible for destroying the party from within. And this is something that all of you on the Young Turks and the Majority Report and all of these other left-wing shows, you guys are going to have to take accountability. You cannot just point the finger at the DNC or at Washington or some outside entity. You guys are going to have to take accountability. You all, because you have been driving this narrative for years, and now that it's backfired, you're like, oh well, now I'm not affiliated. All right, well, congratulations.
And they need to accept that and change. And if they don't, well, they're going to keep losing support, even in cities like Los Angeles and even in states like California.
It's funny because
especially in cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco, New York, especially in those cities, because those cities have been hurt really, really badly by promoting and taking on the policies that people like Cenk and the others promoted. Come on.
Because I remember back in the day, TYT was always the progressive channel, right?
Yep.
The left-wing extremists. They were the ones who were always pushing the most radical ideas on the left-wing side.
Always.
And now to see them shift into this more independent side, this more moderate. Obviously, they're moderate Democrats. I think they still believe in things like Medicare for all and all these democratic policies. But those social things like men playing in women's sports and, like Anna saying, crime, there's like a limit to the insanity, and I think they've found their limit. They're all for the Medicare for all, but they're not for the let's just let them out of jail because we think crime is racist. And that divide, I don't know, what would you label someone like Anna? Is she an independent Democrat or moderate Democrat? Because that's what they're being called in California. So in all those California local elections where the mayors and all that stuff got kicked out of office, the progressive mayors, they're saying the people who beat them are moderate. So maybe that's her lean right now. But I would say this. It's always about the facts. And I think it's very interesting that on this progressive show, the lead host is telling you the Democrats, she lives in a place where Democrats rule, and she's saying they've made her life worse. Sounds like she could have voted for Trump. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do like great YouTube stuff. If you're listening to my voice right now, a sub would be great. My name is Nate the Lawyer. I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, Nate the Lawyer. I have been on a hunt for channels that speak sense, not, and I'm talking about sense, whether they're conservative or liberal. There are right-wing YouTube channels that I cannot stand, and there are left-wing channels that I can't stand. So why do you think I started watching decor channels and cooking channels? Because these political channels are an embarrassment on both sides of the aisle, an absolute embarrassment, which is exactly why I appreciate channels like Nate's, because Nate is not a political guy. He's an attorney, and I don't give a damn what corner it comes from. I don't care what your profession is. If you are going to make sense on the platform, I'm on your side. I'm with you. So, anyway, that's all I've got tonight. I enjoyed this stream, and I'm really glad that you guys showed up, and I'm glad that you guys had so much interesting stuff to say. And I'm afraid that I cannot comment on earnings reports because I haven't been following the market as closely as I used to. So I don't know which companies are slated to come out with their earnings reports. I have no idea. But maybe the next time I go live, I will be able to talk about what happened. I don't know. I'm going to have to check out what happens tomorrow. But thank you so much to all of you. Oh, NVIDIA is tomorrow. Oh, God damn it. The last time NVIDIA came out with their earnings report, it damn near crashed the NASDAQ. All that I can say is diversify. Okay, one word, diversify. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I will see all of you the next time. Thanks, guys.